This version of Minnesota Officiating Voices brings you MJ Wagenson, outstanding football, basketball, and softball official from Pine Island. Enjoy.
Good evening. MJ Wagenson here. Just a little bit about myself. I am an educator at Rochester Community and Technical College in Rochester, Minnesota, and I teach health and fitness and sports management throughout the year. And I live in Pine Island. I am an official in the Rochester Area Officials Association, and I have been officiating for about 30 plus years. I guess that's true. And I primarily work basketball and softball across all of those years, but more recently, in the last few years, I have picked up football because there's a need for officials. And I picked up football thinking I would help out at the under varsity level, and have found myself on a varsity crew the last couple of years. And I just cannot tell you how much fun that is. So a couple things that we're going to talk about tonight is talking about our experiences as officials, and how you can weigh your options and see if this is something that works for you. A couple of things that when I first started as an official, I didn't really know what the association did for me except schedule games, and I was thrilled to have games. And I didn't have to go schedule them myself. And now in the last 10 years or so, I've held multiple positions in our association, and helped with the administration of our association to make it a better entity for all of the officials in our area. Also, I'm the Southeast Regional Coordinator for the high school league for basketball. So that keeps me hopping along with my real job and officiating. An individual that encouraged me to pursue officiating, actually, I might say, was the other way around. I was at a basketball game, a college basketball game, and with a friend of mine, and I said, I think I can do this. I had done some scrimmage work and things like that a little bit, and my friend said, well, you need to talk to that gentleman right there that's running on the court, because you know who that is. And she explained to me. I said, oh yeah, I do know who that is. So it turned out that we both worked at the same place in Rochester, and I saw him at work a few days later, and I said, hey, I understand that you're the guy that can get me started officiating, because I think this is something I can do. And he said, you bet I can. And that gentleman was John Springer, and John is still active with the league as a coordinator for football, and was a longtime official in basketball, baseball, softball, football, and really was very instrumental in getting me started, and has been very supportive of me, advocating for me, encouraging me, and along those lines, encouraged me to go to a meeting that the high school league had set up to recruit female and minority officials. So he brought me a flyer one day and said, you need to go to this. So I signed up, I went to the meeting, and at that meeting, the person that was running that meeting was Vicki Davis. So between the two of them, I made a connection with Vicki, and Vicki held positions with the high school league, was an athletic director herself, was an official, was a coach, and assistant principal for many years, and just really another advocate for officials and getting people into officiating. So between John Springer and Vicki Davis, that's really what launched me, encouraged me, mentored me throughout my entire career. Got me going in the high school ranks, and then Vicki got me started working collegiate basketball as well. And so that just kind of morphed from one level to the next level. And I continue to be mentored by John through these years, and I still work for Vicki as she's my collegiate scheduler for basketball. a magic moment in my career when I realized that, hey, I can do this. I think really, I mentioned both John and Vicky were my mentors throughout the years and continue to be and continue to advocate for me. John took me to my first college basketball game. It was a community college game, and someone else was ill. He called me in the afternoon and he said, "Hey, are you free today?" And I said, "Yeah, what do you need?" And he said, "Well, I need a partner and we're going to go work this community college game." So that kind of launched me, and I was like scared to death, and but I knew I was with somebody that was going to make sure I didn't get into trouble or anything. And it was just a fantastic experience. On the other side of that, my first camp was a camp that Vicki Davis and June Courteau put on at Bethel College way back before many people went to camp. And so the first experience for me, and I'm at camp, and Vicki comes over to me and she said, Noah Olson would like to speak to you. And I said, "Oh, okay. I have no idea who Noah Olson is." And she said, he'll find you, and then let me know that you talk to him. So Noah caught me coming off the court at camp. He said, "Hi, MJ. I'm Noah Olson." Shook my hand. Very nice man. And I said, "Nice to meet you." And he said, "I've been watching you work here at camp." And he said, I'd like to ask you if you'd like to work for me." And I said, "Sure." And he said, "Well, would you like to work in the NCC?" And I said, "You bet." And he said, "Okay, I'll be in touch, and you keep doing a good job." And I said, "Okay, thanks." And he goes, "You got a couple of great teachers here on these courts." And I'm like, "Yep, I know." So anyway, in those days, there was no internet, so I had to wait for a letter or a phone call, which I got from Noel a few weeks later, and then I worked for Noah Olson for many years. But later in that day, Vicki, I ran into Vicki and I said, "Hey, I talked with Noah Olson." And she said, "Great, what did he say?" And I said, "Well, he asked me if I wanted to work for him." And she said, "What'd you say?" And I said, I said, "Sure." And she goes, "That's fantastic, MJ." And she goes, "I'm so excited for you." And I said, "Okay." And then I said, "Vicki, what's the NCC?" And we still laugh about that because I had no idea that was the Division II conference. And so that really launched me to the next level. And when Vicki told me, I was like stunned. I'm like, holy cow. So those are a couple moments in my career that let me know that, I needed to continue to work and continue to get better in my game. And, going to camp is a humbling experience sometimes. And so I continued to learn and do what I could to get better and to live up to the expectations of working at Division III, where I already was, and then making that next step to Division II. And of course, along the way, that keeps you sharp and keeps you striving to make every night that you go out and work your high school games just that much better, because those athletes are going to be college athletes in the future as well. So those are some moments that told me that you need to keep working and keep improving, and you'll get noticed, and you'll have the opportunity to move up. There are challenges in officiating, and when I first started to officiate over 30 years ago, a couple of my biggest challenges happened before I got on the court. Softball wasn't much of an issue because those of you that have ever seen officials in the softball or baseball realm know that the locker room is generally in the parking lot. However, I appeared at a few basketball games where site managers or ADs, once MJ walked in the door, went, "Oh, I didn't know you were female." And so that created a couple anxious moments for a few ADs. But one night I had a site manager who looked at my partner and I and went, "Bob, I'm going to put you in this locker room here. And what am I going to do with you?" And it made me kind of step back. I was like, wow, thanks for the warm welcome. But I got a janitor's closet, which I was, glad to have a place to change. and it actually had a little shower in the back. So it wasn't the best accommodations, but it worked, and I didn't have to go home sweaty. There were some schools that just said, we don't have a locker room for you, but we'll give you a classroom to change in. So a lot of places that I went the first couple years that I officiated, I didn't get a shower afterwards. I finally had one school that had separate locker rooms, and I got a shower, and it was an old school, and I got the water on, and I took a shower, and then I couldn't get the water shut off. So I had to get the custodian. So, but I was grateful that I had a shower. So those were a few challenges that stepped up ahead of time before games. During games, I think some of the biggest challenges throughout my career are learning how to communicate with different types of people. And I mean different types of personalities, from coaches, learning how to communicate with players, learning how to keep your cool under pressure. And sometimes those can be the biggest challenges. I remember one game in particular with an official that I had, and I respected him. He was a great guy. He and I had a really tough game one night, and we came off the court, and I went to my locker room, and he went to his, and I sat down, and I really was questioning, is this something I really want to continue to do, because this just was not fun tonight. And there was a knock at my door, and I thought, oh boy, who's this? And I opened the door, and here it was my partner, and he said, can I come in? And I'm like, sure, come on in. He came in, he sat down across from me, and he said, don't even think about quitting. He said, this was a tough night. You do a good job. We worked hard. We did the best we could. It was a really tough night. He said, we can think through, we can process it, we can analyze it. He said, but we have to set it behind us, learn from it, and go forward. And, that was probably one of the best things that anybody could have said to me. I teach a sports psych class, and we talk about mental toughness as one of our chapters. And I'll be honest with you, that practice of being cool under pressure, of learning from your mentor, from learning from your experiences and putting them into play the next time and the next time and the next time is really so important. Learning from our mentors. This gentleman was he knew what I was thinking. He could have gotten his car and left me, and I could have got my car and gone home and said, to heck with this, I'm never going to do it again. But he had the foresight to know that I was probably going to question myself that night, and to come and talk to me and give me a little leadership there. The other thing about that has evolved over the years is, of course, our ability to watch ourselves on video. And when I first started officiating, we never had that opportunity, so you didn't really know how you looked or how you did. And in today's world, there's so much more opportunity to watch video. So now, you can watch plays and you can say, oh, I need to adjust my position, or oh, I need to be here, or oh, this is what happens on this play. And you can be better prepared, more mentally prepared for that play the next time it happens, because you've been there before, you've seen it over and over on video. You can say, oh, I need to step here, I need to adjust here. And you can really learn and use that visualization to practice performing that play better. There's no reason that officials don't use it. Athletes use it all the time to enhance their performance, and we're no different. The other thing I think that's really the largest challenge throughout time, and especially for new officials, is communication skills. Learning how to speak with those coaches, learning how to speak with those athletes, and just keeping your cool throughout. Avoiding certain terms like I think, or I thought, or what would you like me to do? Those kind of things. Just be factual and be upfront, be honest. And, this is what happened. This is the rule. This is how it's done. And sometimes just recognizing that we're going to have to learn to agree to disagree here tonight. I've actually said to a coach, when a coach said, I don't like that. And I said, I understand, but do you understand it? And they said, yes. And I said, okay, we need to move on. And they were like, I agree. So we did. So just learning how to communicate is probably one of the biggest challenges. You're going to go home every once in a while and go, oh, I shouldn't have said that, or that sounded silly. Again, that's something that takes practice, just like the video, practicing what will you say. If they say this, what do I say in response so it doesn't sound flippant, or it doesn't sound weak, or it doesn't sound overbearing. So what just is the happy medium there? Communication is by far probably the biggest challenge in your game. You can learn rules, you can learn mechanics, but how to effectively communicate is probably takes the most time. The first thing that comes to mind when someone asks me, why do you officiate, across my career, is just the fantastic people that you meet along the way. Whether it's other officials, whether it's coaches, players, ADs, parents, the that group of people is just amazing, and how they come together if something happens, or in somebody's personal life, or just to celebrate certain things that go well for people. The camaraderie of officials is amazing. We spend a lot of time with that one or two people on your crew, being your best friend for an evening, or a long car ride, or whatever the case might be. And you really get to know those people both personally as well as professionally on the court or the field or the rink, wherever that, whatever your sport is. But the camaraderie among those people is just fantastic. They come from all different kinds of professions. They come from all different kinds of backgrounds. And it's just amazing to sit down and talk to people, whether it's talking about officiating or talking about where they grew up as a kid, or what they've done in their professional lives. That's what just thrills me about that part of it. What keeps me coming back? I mentioned a few moments ago about the awesome relationships and the camaraderie among officials and coaches and players. What keeps me coming back is the thrill of the game, the being part of the action, these fantastic athletic abilities that kids have, and being able to be part of certain special moments. Uh, the challenge of just getting a play right. These athletes and coaches put in lots and lots and lots of time, and you just really want to get it right for them. As an official, you put in a lot of time to learn and do your part well, and being able to meet the challenge of getting it right, and adjudicating plays and rules correctly, so that everybody has a great experience, and a fair and equal opportunity when they're participating is part of what keeps me coming back. Seeing an athlete who maybe never gets in a game come out on the court and have everybody cheering for them, or come out on the field. I do softball too, and have everybody be excited for that athlete to field a ground ball cleanly, or to get a base hit, or even just to get on. It's just amazing. I had an opportunity this year at the beginning of the season, maybe 5-6 games in. I'm working a B squad game before a varsity game, and this small athlete, little girl, gets to come in the game towards the end of the game. And again, remember, this is a B squad game. And the bench kids, everybody on the bench is all cheering for this athlete. And they're kind of smiling and kind of just running up and down the court a little bit. Well, they get the pass and they're wide open. And they just put it up, lay it in. And of course it goes in. And the bench exploded. And this kid had a grin from ear to ear. It was so touching, that moment. And to be able to be a part of that, and to see that excitement from that athlete. That might be the only basket they get all year. I have no idea. But this athlete looked like they were a little overwhelmed, like they had never maybe been on the basketball court or something. I don't know. But they were so excited, and they ran all the length of the floor, and they were smiling, and just being a part of that is what keeps me coming back, and being able to provide that opportunity. maybe, maybe you're working a section final softball game, and you've got a pitcher that comes in relief and strikes out the final batter to win the game. And to see that emotion on their face, this is their role. They're the closer. They come in. That's their job. And just to see that competitive spirit and that just kind of behind them is just touching. And I'm a very competitive person, and I still play some ball, and just to see that in another individual and know how hard they worked, maybe through January, February, March to be ready for this moment at this point in time. It's just a fantastic feeling to be a part of those moments. I had an opportunity a few years ago to be a part of an athlete's 1,000th point in a high school game. And 4 years later, I had the opportunity to be a part of a game where that athlete scored their 1,000th collegiate point. It just happened that the stars lined up that I happened to be at both games. That athlete will never remember that I was there at both of their games, but I do. And just to be part of those moments is pretty special. Words of advice or encouragement that I would give somebody that's considering joining the officiating ranks. The first thing I have to say is come into it with an open mind. Come into it being ready to have someone help you and mentor you. I think when we all start, we all think we've got this under control until someone starts to point out a few things that maybe we could do better. In today's world, I think we do a really good job of mentoring people because we know how important it is. I mentioned my mentors at the beginning of my introduction here and how important they were to me and still are. And I think when we first come out, we like to think that we're better than we really are. And then someone kind of points out a few of our rough edges, and it's easy to get a little defensive, but don't. These people are only trying to help, and they want you to do well. One of the things that I didn't mention about what keeps me coming back is seeing people that I've helped get started do well. And that's so exciting for me to see them make a tough play, to see them, come off a court and go, wow, that was a great game. That was so much fun. And to see them just immersed in it and enjoying it. And I think in the back of my mind, I helped them get started. That's very rewarding for me. So for a new official, come out, be open-minded, take help from other people, ask a lot of questions. There's no dumb questions. Trust me, you will make mistakes. Those are the things that you will never forget. You'll apply rules incorrectly. You'll be digging in the rule book. You'll go, oh my gosh, I did that wrong. That's okay. It happens. We all remember those moments, and those are rules we'll never make a mistake on again. But focus on the positive. Focus on the fact that there are people there to help you. Our society tends to be so negative, and we tend to be very short with ourselves, thinking we should be able to learn this immediately, or thinking that we're really good when there's some things that we could work on. And that's okay, because, we all have to have a little bit of ego or we wouldn't do this. But, give yourself 3-4 years. Don't come out first year, come out and do it and say, well, I worked that game with that guy and, he gave me 10 things to work on. I worked that game with that gal and she gave me 5 things to work on. Maybe I'm not very good at this. Correct one thing at a time, one game at a time, pick one thing to work on. Tell somebody that you're working with, hey, I'm working on this today. Okay, so that they can watch for you doing that and maybe give you some pointers or maybe help you and say, hey, good job with that. If you're working on that, that's awesome. So, it's a work in progress. Like I said, I've been doing this over 30 years. I still haven't had a perfect game. And, that's what we all strive for every day out. We try to minimize our error and make that smaller and smaller and smaller. But on the flip side, you have to be critical of yourself sometimes. Watch yourself on video. You have to ask other people to watch you, take feedback from mentors or people that you're working with, and give yourself a chance. You didn't learn to walk in a day. And a lot of things with officiating, it takes a while to learn them. It takes reps, it takes experience. It helps if you know the game. Um, but like football for me was a bigger learning curve than basketball or softball because I never played football. But I've had a lot of people mentor me, continue to mentor me, help me. I'm not afraid to ask questions, and I'll look at people and I'll say, "This might be really dumb, but what does this mean? Or where am I supposed to look on this play?" Or when I see a flag come over my head, I go, "I should have had that, right?" And they're like, okay, but I'll remember that next time. It's part of that visualization. I'll go back and watch the tape, see when I should have seen it earlier, and then apply that next time I'm out. So give yourself a chance and give yourself a few years. You're not going to learn it all in a year. You're not going to, be working a section final the first year out, those kind of things. But really give yourself time to enjoy it. You're going to see some fantastic plays. You're going to see that running, diving catch in the outfield, or you're going to see somebody hit a grand slam, or you're going to see an athlete, run to the bench or the sideline and get a big hug from their coach on their last home senior game. Those are the moments that keep you coming back and keep you engaged, because if you're an athlete, that you understand that feeling, and you just want to give that opportunity back to those athletes and those coaches. And on the last thing I just want to say about doing it is take time to enjoy the people. Yeah, people yell, coaches yell, things like that, fans yell, but in the big picture, there's a lot more of them that don't. And there's a lot of them that recognize you for what you do, and they really appreciate what you do. I stopped at Home Depot the other day to get a few pieces to do a project that I'm working on at home because of the whole COVID thing. I've got my mask on. I come up to check out. I'm carrying my gear. Got a plexiglass window between me and the guy, and he's got his mask on, and he goes, "Doing some home projects, huh?" And I go, "Yeah. Yeah, I suppose you're not officiating too many games these days." I didn't recognize him, but he recognized me. So there are some fantastic people out there. Enjoy them, get to know them, and give yourself a chance to learn and to improve, and just spend time with other officials because they're a great bunch of folks. Good luck.
As you can see, MJ has a passion for officiating and making those around her better. We appreciate her outstanding service to athletes and her fellow officials. If you'd like to become an official like MJ, give the Minnesota State High School League a call today.